YouTube, what's up? Jamar here, Vegas Sense. I got a new video. In this one, I'm gonna be doing another top 10 list. So in this top 10 list, I'm going over, in my opinion, what are some of the best, or my top 10 best office fragrances that I have in my collection right now. And so I do actually have 2 honorable mentions for this particular list. And those go by Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum and YSLY Eau de Parfum. Now, when picking this list, the main thing that I wanted to try to make sure I considered was, or I guess my criteria for the list was making sure that these were fragrances that you could spray on once in the morning and they would last you pretty much the entire day. And then also, you know, they were also fragrances that had both a professional appeal to them, to where they would smell like they were fragrances that would be acceptable in a workplace, but that are also fragrances that you could wear outside of work, you know, maybe just casually. So, you know, these are fragrances that you can transition from work, you know, into a casual setting, you know, while wearing them. So this is strictly my opinion. You know, I'm sure there's probably other fragrances that other people probably wear to work. These, though, in my opinion, are some of the best. All right. So I'm gonna get started here. So the first one on the top 10 list is gonna be Sahara Signature Pour Homme. So the Sahara Signature Pour Homme, best way to describe this fragrance is it's fresh, it's woody, and it's masculine. All right. So I think that anybody that wants to have like more of a professional or more serious appeal to them, this would definitely be the fragrance that you would want to wear to work. Now, the performance, I would say, out of all of these fragrances, the performance on this one is probably the worst out of all of them. After maybe about 6 hours, it does become like a dead skin scent. But technically, I would say, as far as like an 8-hour workday, it will last you the whole day. But if you want it to, you know, sort of project the whole day, you won't really get that with this particular fragrance. But again, this is a really, really great fragrance to wear in a work setting, especially if you're in a setting that is like, you know, either business casual or, you know, like the strictly business where it's just like, you know, dress shirt and slacks or whatever and dress shoes. This is definitely a perfect fragrance for that particular setting. All right, so number 10 is Sahara Pour Homme. All right, so going to my number 9 fragrance, I'm gonna be going with Van Cleef & Arpels in New York. So the best way to describe this fragrance is it's aquatic, it's dark, and it's also professional as well. So I think the way that this bottle looks, it definitely, it embodies the way that this fragrance actually smells. You know, it has kind of like this grayish color tone to it. And I think that's the color of the juice as well inside of there. And that's the feeling that I get with this fragrance. I think this is a fragrance that you would maybe more so want to wear on maybe like an overcast or darker day. You know, I don't really get too much brightness from this fragrance, I guess you could say. So this would be a fragrance that I would probably more so wear in like the fall or something like that, when, you know, the temperatures are cooling down a little bit. You know, especially if you're in a climate that's not as hot as Las Vegas, where, you know, you're getting a lot more overcast days and stuff like that. This fragrance will go perfect for that. All right, so this does last all day long with just one application. So definitely it's a solid performer, and it doesn't project too loudly to the point where you're gonna bother anybody with this one. All right, so again, that's Van Cleef & Arpels in New York. So my number 8 fragrance, that one is going to be Aqua Essenziale Colonia by Salvatore Ferragamo. So this particular fragrance, best way to describe this one is it's fresh, masculine, and also professional. So this one is sort of like a barbershop fougere style fragrance. It definitely is heavy like on lavender, but it is also spicy as well. All right. So this one, when I think about this fragrance, I definitely think about, work setting where, you're definitely in slacks, white shirt, dress pants, maybe even a suit. This goes really well in those particular settings. But at the same time, I would say this is still something that you could wear in a business casual setting as well. It is more of a mature scent, I would say also, especially with it being like a barbershop style, smelling scent. But again, it is really, really fresh. And I think the dry down is probably one of the better parts about this fragrance. All right. So again, this one is Aqua Essenziale Colonia by Salvatore Ferragamo. And this one does last all day as well. All right. Next one. And this one is one of my newest pickups. And that one is Eau de Passion by Frank Olivier. So Eau de Passion by Frank Olivier. This is Frank Olivier's interpretation of Chanel's Platinum Egoiste. And this one, it smells really, really nice. I really like the opening of this one. It comes off as like really citrusy, fresh, and musky as well. And then in the dry down, it turns into more of a spicier sort of barbershop scent as well. You get a lot of lavender and geranium with this one, along with spices, while still remaining sort of musky and fresh. So this one, I haven't smelled the original Platinum Egoiste. I plan on getting a sample of it to do a comparison video between this and Platinum Egoiste. But this one so far, man, I really, really like, and I think this one would really excel in hot weather for sure. The performance on this one so far, I think I've gotten about 7 to 8 hours or so while being inside, climate control environment. So this one, really, really nice. All right. So again, that one is Eau de Passion by Frank Olivier. Okay. Next fragrance that I'm going to do here is by Happyland Fragrances. All right. And that one is Blue Fire. So Blue Fire, from what I can say about this fragrance, is just a really fresh, clean, sort of soapy smelling scent. So this one I would say would be competing with fragrances like Prada L'Homme. That's the first fragrance that comes to my mind when I think about fresh, sort of soapy type scents. This one I would say is not really a super powdery scent, but it does share like that iris note that a Prada L'Homme has, and it's a really crisp, clean, fresh scent, and it lasts a really long time. I've sprayed this on, like I said in other videos, I sprayed this on at night before, woke up the next morning, and this was still there. So this will definitely last through a full work day for sure. All right. So again, this one is Happyland's Blue Fire. All right. So the next fragrance on the list here is going to be Sensual Obsessions Millesime Imperial. All right. So this is obviously Sensual Obsessions' take on Creed's Millesime Imperial. This one, it's got like that aquatic sea salt, sea breeze smell to it, but at the same time, it sort of has like that really sweet sort of watermelon, smell to it as well. This one I haven't worn in a minute, which I don't know why I haven't worn it in a while, but this one, it smells really, really good, and it lasts all day long. I would say 10 plus hours for sure. I got to pick up a full bottle of this one. But yeah, this one, like I said, is fresh, it's fruity, and it's long lasting. All right, so that's Millesime Imperial by Sensual Obsessions. Next fragrance is from Alexandria Fragrances, and that one is Zion. So everybody knows Zion. Zion is Alexandria's interpretation of Rosa Elysium. And this one, although the wearer sort of goes nose blind to this one, fairly easily, everybody else around you still smells this, and this lasts forever. So this one, if you want like a really fresh, clean fragrance that'll last you the whole day, this one is an easy dumb reach for that particular situation. And it's not like super overpowering. You're not gonna choke anybody out with this one. I typically spray about 4 sprays or so, and I'm good to go after that. It is a lighter scent, but it does perform really, really nicely. So again, this one is Zion by Alexandria Fragrances. So the next fragrance here is Allure by Sensual Obsessions. So this is their take on Chanel's Allure Homme. And this one, I would say, is good pretty much all year round. Especially if you're wearing this in a climate controlled environment, you should be able to wear this all year round. This one, it smells, like I said in other videos, it smells in the top sort of like Versace Pour Homme, and then once it dries down, turns into a bit more creamier, spicier version of it. It does have like that really nice peach note in it as well, so this remains fruity throughout, at least the Sensual Obsessions version. And it does sort of start to get a bit more creamier and spicier as it dries down, and woodier as well. So this one easily lasts over 10 hours. So this is an all-day fragrance for sure. All right, Allure by Sensual Obsessions. So now we're down to the final 2, and number 2, I'm gonna give it to Creed's Aventus Cologne. All right, so Aventus Cologne, like I've mentioned before, this is probably the first Creed that I've noticed that really lasts on me like all day long and has good performance. Now this is like obviously one of the more earlier batches in the life of Creed Aventus Cologne, so we'll see how or if batch variation affects this fragrance the way it does Aventus, and we'll see if as batches progress, if this fragrance gets weaker and weaker in performance. I would hope not, but so far this batch, which is 19P01, this batch lasts on me all day long. Obviously throughout the day, it gets weaker and weaker, but it definitely stays on me all day long. All right, so number 2, that's Creed Aventus Cologne. And at number 1, like I've mentioned in other videos, this is hands down my most complimented fragrance, whether it's at work or just in general. This is my most complimented fragrance, period, that I own. And that one is by Alexandria Fragrances, and that's Homme Classique. And this is their take on the vintage version of Yves Saint Laurent's L'Homme. Now, it doesn't smell exactly like L'Homme. It smells quite different. It smells a lot fresher, and it uses a much heavier emphasis on the note of ginger. But man, this stuff, it really I love this fragrance every time I smell it. It puts a smile on my face. It's really bright. It lasts all day long, you know, at least over 12 hours. And like I said, this thing gets compliments like crazy. It really does. So again, this one is Home Classique. That's my #1 office fragrance. I see a lot of people on the Alexandria Fragrances, you know, group selling this fragrance, I guess because it doesn't smell exactly like L'Homme, and that's what they're looking for. I would say, man, this is an amazing fragrance just on its own. And I think any man that owns fragrances should have this fragrance in his repertoire, because like I said, women love this stuff. They really do. All right. So again, that's Home Classique by Alexandria Fragrances. That was my top 10 list. Let me know what you all's top 10 or maybe top 5 fragrances are for wearing to work or in the office. All right. So that's Jamar here, Vegas Scents. I'll see you on the next video.